And happy June 2nd. Welcome to All In on Facebook Live. My name is Ryan Carpenter, and I very proudly serve as the superintendent for the Estacada School District. It is a beautiful day outside, and as I drove down to be a part of this Facebook opportunity and communications opportunity, I'm always so encouraged and excited and inspired to see our athletic fields just completely full of kids and parents just participating in extracurricular activities. So if you're one of the parents who are out there right now and watching this late tonight before you go to bed, or you're watching this at a different time, I just want to say thank you for tuning in. For those of you who are here live with us tonight, I'm so excited to continue to have the opportunity to transparently and proactively share updates about the latest reconfiguration moves and decisions our district is making in an effort to work through the growth and capacity issues that the great Estacada School District is experiencing right now and in the foreseeable future. I'm joined tonight also with our Director of Teaching and Learning, Jennifer Berman. Jennifer has really been the lead in terms of orchestrating both the community's collaboration and our employees and internal collaboration as we work towards executing this plan. And so in the upcoming segments of this All In Facebook Live, I'm just excited for both Jen and I to have the opportunity to address questions, work through opinions, and try to relieve anxiety and stress that might exist as our great school district prepares for what's going to be change that's going to affect everybody. It's our intention to do that in such a great manner and in an organized fashion with great communication, ultimately allowing the entire Estacada community and its school district to work together as we execute and implement these changes. But before I start today, I do want to just say 3 or 4 amazing things that are happening inside the Estacada School District right now. And it's so noteworthy. I really want to start this All In live on Facebook to really highlight some of the great student achievements that have occurred over the course of just the last 2 weeks. I first want to extend a major congratulations to our first ever men's volleyball team, who just last weekend, or 2 weekends ago, won the first ever Oregon State 4A championship, the state championship at the 4A level. This is a tremendous accomplishment for our school, a tremendous representation and win for our community. And if you're unaware, yes, we do have a men's volleyball program. The OSAA is working hard to create more athletic and extracurricular opportunities. And so in the springtime, the OSAA has created 2 major emerging sports, one of which is men's volleyball, and the other of which is women's flag football. And let me tell you, we had 19 ferocious female flag football players playing this season. I had the opportunity to watch a couple of games, and it is so cool to see our female athletes with just another opportunity to participate in an extracurricular activity. And we were tough too. It was fun to watch Estacada beat Malala, and anytime we can beat Malala at anything is always a big win. And I am not sorry if you're someone from Malala watching this right now. Of course, Estacada and Malala is a great rivalry, just like the Ducks and the Beavers, but we seem to win more than Malala does, and I'm always thankful for that. I also want to celebrate and highlight, we had a tremendous showing at the state track meet down in Eugene last weekend, and our very own Abby Berman won the state championship in 2 events, shot put and discus. And we are just so tremendously proud of Abby Berman and the hard work that she's put into it. She's a great kid who very well represents Estacada and its vision and values. And it's just so awesome to know that we have an athlete who is going out there on the big stage and winning state championships. So congratulations to Abby Berman and another tremendous state victory for her. This is her second time in a row, years in a row winning the state championship. championship, and she probably is one of the best, if not the best, track athlete that Estacada has ever had in its history. And so it's just been such an honor to watch her tremendous journey and all of those great victories. I also want to say a big congratulations and shout out to Ren Sue. Ren did something that has never happened in the history of Estacada as well. And newly elected Representative Janelle Bynum from the Clackamas area, who now serves in Washington, D.C., held an art contest, a student art contest. And the winning art piece was going to be selected by Representative Janelle Bynum to be displayed in her office at Washington, D.C. And one of our very own Estacada art students, Ren, put together an amazing art piece that won and now is being posted and displayed in the offices at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. So the great work of Estacada not only continues to be nationally recognized, but our students' artwork is now being showcased at a national level as well. And so we are so excited about that, and a big congratulations to Ren. The last thing I just want to remind folks is, if you're unaware, Estacada High School has one of the best theater programs really in the state of Oregon. You'll agree with me if you've been to any of our winter musicals or any of our spring flings. We really do have a best-in-class music and theater and arts program. And I just want to remind our families and people who are watching live that this weekend is the big spring fling, and you get to see not only tremendous student talent, but a first-class production run by the great teachers in our music and arts program and departments, but also just the great music behind that. And so if you're not doing anything this weekend, the Spring Fling is a great thing to take someone out on a date to bring your family to. It really will not disappoint. It always continues to be just exceptional. And as I conclude kind of these highlights, it really goes to show that the Estacada School District continues to invest into a culture of champions. And that is not only on the athletic fields, but that's also in our arts and in our academics. And there's just time and time again, our athletics, arts, and academics just continue to be front and center, not only for state recognition, but for national recognition as well. So what a tremendous accomplishment from the students inside our school district. And it is a true honor to have the opportunity to recognize that as we start our Facebook Live tonight. But the reason why most people are here is to get the latest updates on what's going on inside our school district when it comes to reconfiguration. And so I am going to spend about 4 or 5 minutes or 10 or 15 on really talking about what's going on, what the board decided, how we got to this decision, and what schools are going to look like, not next year, but the year after that, the 26-27 school year. And I really just want to hunker on this just for a second, because I need to remind social media, which is where we're at today. We know lots of our families love to create strands and talk about the things that are going on inside the school district. And so I want to state this very clearly. These changes are not going to happen next school year. They're going to happen in the 26-27 school year, which basically gives our school district, as well as our community, our parents, and our employees 14 months to do a great job in the planning and logistics inside of that. And this is just one of many ways that we're going to be collecting voice from our parents and our communities, as well as our employees, in order to really co-own this change together as one large community as we try to address the growth and capacity issues inside our great school district. So I'm going to start specifically with this. Last month, during the May school board meeting, the school board voted unanimously to reconfigure the Estacada School District into 4 buildings, the 4 buildings that we have. Rivermill Elementary School will become a kindergarten through second grade building only. Clackamas River Elementary School will become a building to serve and educate only third and fourth graders. Estacada Middle School, which is what we know it as today, we will be renaming this school, but that will be the house for fifth and sixth graders only. And then one side of the current Estacada High School will become the junior high, serving seventh and eighth graders, and the other side of Estacada High School will serve ninth through 12th graders. Now, this is a decision that has already been determined and voted on by the school board. And if you were a parent or a community member who participated in what was really a 4-month-long process of collecting community opinion, we had an incredible committee of citizens, parents, and a few employees to help us work through the options of what reconfiguration would look like. This was a very robust process that touched hundreds of people inside of our community. And if you're one of those people who participated, I just wanted to say, firstly, thank you. This was not an easy decision. So much thought went into it. And I was just blown away by the ownership of our parents who really dove into the problem that we were trying to solve and the solutions that was proposed to me, your superintendent, and proposed ultimately to the elected executive school board of directors was extremely thoughtful and profound. And this is the decision which echoes the voices of our committee and echoes the voices of our parents and our citizens as the best solution to move forward. Now, notice I didn't say perfect solution. This does not solve every problem that the Estacada School District faces right now regarding growth and capacities, competitive opportunities, or just modernizing our facilities. But because this problem still exists inside the Estacada School District, this solution is our best approach today to solve today and tomorrow's problems to the best that we can do that. And so I wanted to thank people for that. I've also received several emails and have been cornered in the ice cream aisle at the grocery store and every other place in the local community to hear people's opinions about this decision. And while I deeply appreciate our community who is willing to come and tell me their thoughts about our school district, that's the only way we can do a good job of making sure that our school district reflects the values of our community. But I need to state this very clearly. This is the decision that was made. And so to approach any of our people at this point about reboundarying the school district or to reopen Eagle Creek or to place the third graders at the base of the oak tree right next to the Estacada baseball field, like those decisions and options are no longer on the table. We just spent 4 months working through those options. This is now the decision. And so our charge is to spend the next 14 months working hard, working focused, and working diligently to execute this strategy. And so I want to just pause here for a second, because if you have questions, if you have comments and or opinions, the whole purpose of Facebook Live is for us to have the ability to address those questions and to work through those opinions. And so as I work through this presentation about what the next 14 months looks like and how we came to this specific decision, I really encourage you to type questions into the chat. We have Maggie Kelly, our Director of Communications, is watching and monitoring those chats, and we're going to get to several points where both Jennifer Berman and myself will have the opportunity to address some of those questions, answer some of those concerns and fears, And also take notes. There's a lot of things that we haven't thought about yet or haven't considered. And so your ability to say, hey, have you thought about that? I'm worried about this. Have you thought about this? Like, these will also be helpful for us as we spend the next 14 months really trying to identify our blind spots and trying to work through even the hypotheticals of things we haven't thought about yet. And so I really do encourage your participation. Please participate in this opportunity for us to work back and forth with each other on this very scary social media platform. So I shared with you kind of what the configuration of schools will be 2 years from now. Now, why did we come up with this decision? And I think this is a great graphic to really explain how we got to where we're at. This solution that the school board voted for in May does one thing. It does our best to address the growth and overcapacity that is occurring in several of our buildings now. So if you look at Rivermill Elementary School, today, this number is today, they currently have 521 students, kindergarten through 5th grade at Rivermill. That is 21 students over the maximum capacity of what Rivermill can serve, which is why we have portables all over the place at this point at Rivermill. What's not in this number is we also have a very strong pre-kindergarten program known as pre-K, and there are 30 students in our pre-K program. So the real number is 551 students currently being served at Rivermill Elementary School. I do want to point out that if you go all the way down and look at that graphic of Estacada High School, which currently has 536 students, if you count the pre-K students that I had just mentioned, Rivermill Elementary School right now is effectively larger than Estacada High School, which is not a recipe for success when you think about educating kindergarten through 5th grade students. Clackamas River Elementary School has 435 students in it. Its capacity is 450, and so we are near capacity at Clackamas River Elementary as well. Estacada Middle School, thanks to a just continuously growing population, we had more students just move into Estacada Middle School just this week. We are now at 451 students, 1 student over capacity at Estacada Middle School. And Estacada High School has 536 students in it, but Estacada High School has the ability to house up to 950 students. Remember, this building was built in the mid-60s at the height of the logging days. Estacada High School used to, way back in the day, serve students at a bigger population during the logging boom. Ironically, Estacada High School looks exactly the same today as it did in 1965, but that's for a different conversation at a different time. But my point inside of this is there is only one place to put kids since our other buildings are over capacity. And the only building that has space for more kids is Estacada High School. So if you're someone in the camp of, I don't like the 7th and 8th graders coming to Estacada High School, I completely understand that. 2 years from now, I will have an 8th grader moving into Estacada High School, and I completely understand. It's not my favorite thing for my 8th grade daughter at the time to be coming over here as well. But when you look at the space in the room that Estacada High School has to hold kids, you've got to ask yourself, who is the best group of kids to come over here and fill these empty classrooms? Is it kindergartners or is it 8th graders? And so this is the question and the tough decisions that we're faced with in terms of saying we have no room left for kids at these buildings, but we have a ton of room left for kids at this building. And so who can come over here to fill those spots? And I say that because I hope that alleviates how we got to this decision. We don't love this decision either, but it's the only space available for us to put students. And so with this reconfiguration, on the right-hand column of this graphic, you will see that kindergarten through second grade, 2 years from now, will have 451 students. Clackamas River Elementary's third and fourth graders will have 332 students. The fifth and sixth grade at Estacada Middle School, which will be named something different, will have 352 students. And after the movement of seventh and eighth graders separately to Estacada High School, this high school will now hold 824 kids. 288 students in 7th and 8th grade, and 536 students in 9 through 12. And so by this reconfiguration of how we educate and serve our students will really bring every building back to under capacity, and it really spreads out the opportunity to fully maximize the 4 buildings the community has given us to educate their children. I do want to point out here, though, if you see at the bottom of this graphic, the Estacada School District as a whole can only hold 2,350 students. Today, we have 1,943. And so we are almost, I would fast forward this 5 years, 7 years, we're going to be at capacity for the whole district in the foreseeable future. But this reconfiguration is to deal with today's problem today, and we'll keep working through some of the other problems. I'm also hoping that this conversation has sparked curiosity, questions, opinions. And again, I want to encourage folks, this is now the time to type into the chat your questions and thoughts, because really I hope to be able to address those, but our only way to do that live and in front of our audience is for you to get active in typing those things now. So please do so. Both Jen and I are excited to have the opportunity to answer those questions and address them as we come. So what do the next 14 months look like? Just to prepare for this meeting and to prepare for other meetings that I've been at where I've had the opportunity to transparently communicate some of the big things our school district is going to have to work through and decide as we work over the next 14 months. And this is just some of the list. There's a whole nother portion of this list that we haven't gotten to in terms of thinking about yet. And there's just some things that we haven't even thought about yet that will come up as we work through each and every single decision. I want to be clear, we do not have a plan today that's just going to make this ready to go and able to happen 14 months from now. This is going to be a long, methodical, thoughtful, detail-oriented process that collects so much voice so that when we hit the execute button 14 months from now, we're going to not compromise even a little bit in our own high expectations of offering best-in-class service to our students, our employees, and our families, including our community. But here are just an example of some major things that we're going to need to work through over the next 14 months. Let's start with classroom assignments. Who is going to go where? What teachers are going to go with the 7th and 8th graders to Estacada Junior High School at the high school? What middle school teachers are going to stay and work with the 5th and 6th graders? Who is going to teach 3rd grade at Clackamas River Elementary School? Who's going to teach kindergarten at River Mill Elementary School? These are major decisions that requires us to do research on licensing, work with our employees' voice, and just place the right people in the right spots, ultimately allowing for an effective educational process. It's also going to be very tricky, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to require a lot of work to determine which teacher is in which classroom in which spot of the building, and do they have what they need in order to do their job well. What's the moving process going to look like? Am I going to need to hire 10,000 U-Haul trucks to make the logistics work in terms of moving our employees and their things from one building to the next? Am I going to need to ask our community, calling all dump trailers to come on down so that we can move things? These are the things I don't have answers to yet that are things we're going to have to work through. What does transportation look like, and how are we effectively and efficiently going to run our school buses to pick up students at different buildings and safely get them home? We're going to need to do some high school remodeling. We're going to need to move the office to the front like we've asked for in our last 2 or 3 bonds. It still continues to be a major safety concern, and in order for us to provide best-in-class customer service with a middle school on one side and a high school on the other side, we need to find a new way to serve and support our families and our kids. And so this is something that's going to cost money. So what do we need to do in the high school in order to do that? That's currently the location of our art room. And so we need to spend a little bit of money to create a brand new art room somewhere inside the high school. What does the library look like? We have the high school commons, which is where our 9th through 12th graders hang out. Where are the 7th and 8th graders going to hang out? We need to create an additional common space just for the 7th and 8th graders so that we can fulfill our promise of keeping these 2 groups of students separated to the best of our ability. What about student movements? When you think about the high school, what about bell schedules? We most certainly don't want high school students moving back and forth from class to class at the same time the junior high students are moving back and forth from class to class. And so how are we going to logistically have kids move from class to class, but yet being separated by grade level? Bell schedules, lunch logistics, our special education services, and how we're going to support our students. I'm very excited for this, by the way, because I think it's super cool to have special education specialists hone in on a kindergarten through 2nd grade group. Talk about being able to get surgical with our ability to support students. Just the same for 5th and 6th grade students. How are we going to separate the middle school and high school to meet the expectations of our parents? What does gym usage look like? We're already short at least 1 gym, but how are we going to make all the logistics happen so that every child has the opportunity for physical education? What will athletics look like when we move our 7th and 8th graders to the high school? How are they going to play volleyball and basketball and wrestling while at the same time our high school students are doing the same thing during the same seasons? These are things I don't have answers to today, but they're things we're going to need to work through the process. Counseling services, and do I need to hire additional staffing in order to execute this? Meaning, is this model going to cost us more money than our current budget? And the answer to that is we're going to try our very best to make it not to. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we're pulling this off successfully with limited resources. And that's just the start of the big decisions. The number 1 email I'm getting from parents right now is the logistics of parent pickup. And let me tell you, I hear you. I understand the inconvenience of the possibilities of having to pick kids up at different spots. I would like to tell you today that I, first of all, understand the problem and I hear you loud and clear. I'm thankful that you have given me 14 months to try to figure it out in order to make sure that we meet the needs of parent convenience. Again, the number 1 reason why this is being emailed to me is because people are worried about their own convenience. I need to tell you that we will work hard to make sure this is still convenient for you and your life, but please don't forget the greater mission, and that is our students are bursting out the seams of our elementary schools, and I have to find a place for them to go. And so there is a greater mission than your convenience of being able to pick up kids at just one location. But I am promising you that I'm going to work hard in order to find a way to make it the most convenient for you so that it meets your personal needs. But I've got about Well, there's 1,900 kids, so times that by 2 in terms of parents, I've got about 4,000 people I need to make happy in this logistics. And so I'm going to be working very hard to try to at least please half of them. I'm kidding. I will work hard to do all of them, but that's the way that it goes. So here's what you can expect from us moving forward, and then we're going to get to your questions. And I am trying to be a little bit edgy tonight because I really want you to participate in this, to give us opportunities to work. And so I do apologize if you're offended. That wasn't my point, but my point was for you to say something in Facebook Live. Most people do anyways. This is just a great spot for us to work through the process together as a team. So what can you expect from us? We do plan to start sending out monthly communications to all parents to give updates and also collect input, gathering next school year to prepare for the year after that. And so you will see regular, transparent, proactive communications in order for us to do a great job fulfilling some of the anxieties and some of the concerns. And we're going to work through each decision very methodically and very slowly. I want to repeat that, very slowly, to make sure we get it right. Our committee work on some of the examples that I shared with you, like classroom locations, high school remodeling, and it's minimal because we don't have a ton of money for remodeling, parent pickup, school bus logistics, meal serving locations, and those types of things. We're going to start those committees in September and October. And so, what can you do now? Just wait patiently. Starting next school year, we're really going to turn the screws and really get the systems going and getting different groups of people to participate in these decision-making processes. And then lastly, just final updates, including school schedules and times, will be released spring or May-ish of 2026. So what does the bell schedule look like? What classroom does a teacher go to? Where can I conveniently pick up all of my kids in one location? We're not going to have that decision until May. And the reason why is because if you think about dominoes, there are so many other decisions we need to make in order for us to get to that decision and to do so in a correct and effective manner. And so, please, just give us grace and give us patience that come October or November, you don't already know where you can go pick up your child. Like, we're just not there yet. And I just want to vulnerably, humbly, and transparently say that. We have a lot of work to do to get to that decision. And if we make that decision first, then a lot of other things fall apart. And so I do appreciate your ability to see the whole field as we make this transition into this configuration of schools. And in conclusion, before we get to the comments, which I'm hoping there's going to be some great participation in, I do just want to restate, first of all, that this decision has already been made. So if there's a different idea out there, or if you just have a strong urgency to say they should have reboundaried the school district, or they should have, placed the third grade group at the base of the oak tree, like, that decision has already been made. And so really you're wasting your time and your frustration over something that has already been made. I really want to shift our community to solving the problems and executing the strategies of the decision that's already been made. So that's number one. The second thing I just want to reiterate, and for some people, they may not have the deep understanding of this, and this is where you kind of need to trust your educational experts. And this K2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12 configuration, we did not make this up out of thin air. In fact, there are tons of school districts across the United States of America who execute and operate this very model every single day. Jennifer Berman has done a ton of research around it. We've identified 4 school districts in the state of Oregon. Some of the closest ones to us are Tillamook School District and North Marion School District, just around the corner from us, who do this on a daily basis. We've also worked with a school district from Mississippi who has had tremendous academic success inside this model as well. And so I just want to be clear, like this isn't a willy-nilly, hey, let's put these kids here and let's put these kids here and let's just figure it out as we go. We literally went to research as best practice as to how we could reconfigure our student bodies to fit in the 4 buildings that we had, but we're using a model that has research-based and has evidence of continuing high student achievement. And so I just wanted to be very clear on that this was very well thought of, researched, and we continue to work with some of the school districts who are executing this model in order for us to help learn from some of the mistakes they made when they went into this reconfiguration, and so that we can speed up the process of making sure we do things right. So I appreciate this opportunity to be able to give everybody an update on where we're at. We have made the decision of what we're going to look like, and more communication will come out about some of the big decisions that I shared with you, but this is where we're at today. There is no secret room in the back. We are not taking money from special interest groups to do certain things to support their individual wants and desires. What I just shared with you is literally where we are at today. And now we get to start working through the very specific things that will be instrumental in our success in this 14 months from now. So I'm going to pass it over to Maggie Kelly, our communications director, to see if we've got some great comments and questions, and we are excited to be able to work with our community through this process.
Okay, our first question, we have a lot of great, thoughtful questions, so thank you so much for submitting your questions. Our first question is from Missy. You mentioned our thriving performing arts department, and she just had a question about how younger students that aren't yet in high school can get involved in theater and performing arts.
Yeah, that's a great question. And hello to Missy. Thank you for that great question. I actually think moving the 7th and 8th graders to Estacada High School will actually open the door more for some of these opportunities. Like, for example, we have Rendell Frunk, who is a phenomenal music teacher who really orchestrates some of the award-winning things that we're doing now. His son, Zach, is the middle school teacher. When we reconfigure this, Zach will be coming with the 7th and 8th graders, and so Rendell will teach 7th grade through 12th grade choir separately. I need to make that clear. There won't be seniors with 7th graders in the same class. But then Zach will be teaching the band 7 through 12 as well. And Jordan Collins, who's a phenomenal theater teacher, is going to be in that same building as well. And so I'm actually optimistic. This is one of the pros that's going to come from moving this is 7th and 8th grade students, the younger students, are going to get more exposure to some of those neat opportunities to participate in some of those things. I also want to point out that our 2 elementary schools have phenomenal music teachers as well. Mr. C at Rivermill and Mrs. Vogt at Clackamas River contribute to this great musical program as well, and they do tremendous things with our young kids. And because Vogt is at Clackamas River and Mr. C is at Rivermill and Zach is moving over to the high school to do band and choir with Rendell Frunk, we're also going to need to hire an additional music teacher to teach the 5th and 6th grade school as well. And so when it comes to the performing arts and music, this is actually something that I think is going to be a win with this reconfiguration. And I appreciate you pointing that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Jonathan, who wants to know, who has concerns about students that are going through puberty being grouped in with young adults.
Yeah, and actually I'm going to pass this to Jennifer Berman, who needs an opportunity to start addressing some of these with me. But thank you for that question.
I would say the nice part about this reconfiguration is that we're really able to focus on specific developmental pieces to the grade levels that we're targeting in a building. And so 7th and 8th grade will be in the high school building, but they will have a different bell schedule. They will have teachers who are prepared to support them at the age-appropriate level that they're at. And we'll have specialists who can be more targeted to that grade level span, and just different ways that we can actually support them better than we are as we have buildings with multiple grade levels and multiple levels of development. So this is another exciting part to me, is just K-12, us being able to focus specifically on where students are at developmentally and how we can target and support them specifically at those buildings and target our staff to be able to support them with that, and then doing our best at the junior high and high school to meet students where they are and provide the space that they need, just like we do any other day. We're going to continue that great work and hopefully even have more opportunities to provide specific supports for development.
Yeah, Jen and I are both actually very excited to work with our parents on this one. This is one of the common ones that we get in our email inboxes and when we talk to people as well. And so I think your concern is extremely valid, and I'm excited to have 14 months to work with you, Jonathan, and other parents with those concerns, just to make sure that 14 months from now we get it right in a way that satisfies some of your concerns. But some very specific examples is we're going to make sure that high school PE is in one specific gym and middle school PE is in a different, in our old, small gym or new gym, or it's called a lot of different things, but we really want to separate even the changing of students from that. And even though the bell schedules will be different, like Jen talked about, that's something we want to be very conscientious of, including the separation like Jen talked about in one side of the building from the other. But we also have experience in working through this, because when we moved the sixth graders from elementary school to the middle school, we also got this concern a lot from our parents, as well as the difference developmentally from a sixth grader to an eighth grader, which is also very stark. And so we do have experience in working through this, and I'm excited to continue to roll out to you our updates to make sure that it does satisfy some of those concerns. But they're legitimate and they concern us as well, and we'll continue to work through those processes.
Our next question, a really thoughtful question from Melissa, who wants to know, with fewer classes at each school, will lunches be longer for each grade? She's concerned that 15 minutes is just not long enough to eat lunch.
Jen, you want to answer that one?
Yeah, with definitely adding more space to our master schedule will allow for more room for a lot of things, not just lunch and recess. And I do want to clarify, our lunch recess times right now are 20 minutes at lunch and 20 minutes at recess. And so this will just give us more opportunity to spread things out, give kids a little more wiggle room, because right now we are so packed that it is very back to back. Kids are moving quick. We got to get kids through a lunch line in the cafeteria in a quick manner, and redistributing our numbers and utilizing all the space in our district allows us to make more wiggle room for things like that, more opportunities for other options too, that give our kids just a little more room to breathe during the school day.
And I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the middle school does have 15 minutes for lunch and then 15 minutes outside, which is shorter than the elementary schools. And that is literally because they are at fire marshal capacity if they don't rotate kids through more. And that is just a direct example of us being over capacity.
Yep.
Another question from Marissa. She asked, young kids benefit socially by watching and learning from older kids. So how is the district going to support younger kids learning some of these modeled social skills? Her example was kindergartners seeing fifth graders in the lunchroom.
Well, the nice part about our district is that we are all within walking distance of each other. So I think there's still a lot of opportunities for, our third and fourth graders to come over to the fifth and sixth grade building and watch different activities that are happening, and different opportunities for us to still have classroom buddies and do fun art projects. Like, there's no reason why fifth and sixth graders couldn't walk over to Rivermill Elementary and help kindergartners with an art project. Might take a little bit more logistically to organize, but the great part about our admin team is that we work really well together, and those kind of logistics, just the fact that we have to walk across the street, is not something that will keep us from anything that would benefit our kids socially and just continuing to build the culture and community of our district and our students.
Yeah, and Marissa, I appreciate you saying that, because I hear that side of the story so few times about the benefits of older kids modeling what right looks like to younger kids. My inbox is usually full with how bad it is to be exposed to older kids around younger kids. And so I just wanted to, I agree with Jen, but I just wanted to say thank you for conveying that perspective, because there really is benefit to that as well. So thank you.
Our next question, well, not a question, but I did want to bring it to you, Superintendent Carpenter. Dave commented and said that you should just homeschool your kids and that public schools are a failing and sinking ship. And our first thoughts on that is that there are some families, obviously, that choose to have their students here, and there are some families that choose to homeschool their children. And there are some families that don't have the opportunity to stay home with their children and homeschool. And we have 2,000 students whose families have chosen to be part of our district.
Yeah.
And we're really trying to serve them the best way possible.
Yeah, well, thank you, Dave, and I appreciate your perspective. And if you watch national news as your sole source, I would agree with you that public education is not doing a very good job right now for students and just for children at large. I don't disagree with you there. Although it's also clear you don't know very much about the Estacada School District with that comment, because we've kind of broken the mold in terms of how we serve our community and how we serve our students. I mean, it's not an anomaly that while Portland Public Schools is down in enrollment and, different public schools around our area are losing tens of millions of dollars because the children have gone elsewhere. That's not what's happening in Estacada. In the last 7 years, we have grown 17%, and that is not only a culmination of more families moving into our community, some of which because our school district is doing so great, but we've also retained the students who have continued to go to our school, and that's really even through the pandemic as well. And so I would say our growth and capacity in our student numbers, Dave, is a result of good service to our students, to our families, and to our community. And so I think you've missed it a little bit when you made this comment, but we do have people who do homeschool. We have a lot of people who have chosen to co-op education with their church groups, and they're absolutely perfectly welcome. And I encourage families to put their kids in an educational environment that best serves their family's needs. This is a school choice and a parent choice world. We just choose to compete in that, and right now we're offering a product that families in our community continue to serve their send their children to, and I'm very proud of that, and you should be too.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Chris, who wants to know, what does capacity mean in this context? As you mentioned, we are over capacity. He doesn't think that it means the maximum capacity. Is there a true capacity for our locations?
When we're looking at our numbers and capacity, we're looking at how many classrooms do we have, how many students can we safely and productively put in that classroom. We have a ratio. We have a lot of those things that we look at, as well as what just the overall building capacity is by the fire marshal. So there's a lot of different ways that we're looking at it. For elementary students, we like to staff our classrooms with 1 teacher and 25 students as an average, and at our secondary level, we like to go with 30 students to 1. And when we look at those numbers and we look at how many classrooms we have and we look at how many classrooms are in a building that fit what we're trying to do, that's what we mean when we say, here's our capacity for this building. So we're looking at how we run our programs to the best of our ability to serve our students in the best way, along with making sure that we are safe and we can function well in a building, along with what the fire marshal says we can have in our building too. So it's a combination of all of those things coming together to make sure we serve our students the best way possible.
Thank you. That's a helpful answer.
Yep. I would just add to that the capacity that I share with you, though, that you put in capacity in quotes, that is the capacity of our building plans. And we do try to work at 25 students to 1 at the elementary level and 30 students to 1 at the secondary level, because that's what the data and the research says is the sweet spot for really maximizing the overall learning outcomes for all students. I mean, there are school districts that put 40 kids in a class, and there's elementary schools that have 35. We've really held our vision and our values to really maximize based on what we are seeing trend-wise across the United States is really creating the best learning achievement outcomes. And so we've been pretty steadfast on the 25 and 30, but the capacity numbers that I shared with you in that slide, if you were to look at our building blueprints and those types of things, that's the capacity that I'm talking about. Rivermill was literally built for no more than 500 kids, and we have 550 in there now.
And that reflects also in a lot of our common spaces. As I mentioned earlier, the middle school struggles with literal fire marshal capacity in its lunchroom. I believe the capacity is around 150, and when you have a 500 student school, there's just no practical way to split up lunch hour to serve that number of students safely. Another follow-up on that capacity question from Marissa was asking if the full capacity numbers include the pods. I'm not sure if she means pods at Clackamas River or the portables.
Yes.
Yes, it includes all of those pieces. Like Superintendent Carpenter said, we've looked at the blueprints. Our committee that met on all of this looked at blueprints, number of classrooms, number of space, all of those things. And, like we said, in a couple of years, we might be at full capacity district wide, and where we're, the last thing we want is using every single nook and cranny to try to educate kids in the best way. And so we've looked at the best model for what works for each building and how we utilize that, because one classroom, kids also need to move around. They need to have common spaces. All of those things are factored in. But overall, we looked at our blueprints. We determined the capacity of that, and then looked at how we staff and how we support how many kids can be in a classroom so that we can really serve our kids the best way. And that data that we've been using is working. Our test results are growing, our kids are achieving, we're doing amazing things academically. So we're going to stick to our mission, vision, and value in this as we determine the next great move for moving our kids to where they can fit more room and have more opportunities to continue a great education.
Great job.
Another great question from Marissa, and I'll take this one. She wants to know regarding the planning meetings with parents, will they be and can they be times for working parents to attend? And the answer is absolutely yes. We always work to accommodate our working parents. Although we can't accommodate every individual's schedule, we will probably have our meetings at 6 or 7 p.m. When we were creating this plan with our planning committee, we had those meetings at, I believe, 6 or 7 p.m. just to accommodate as many families as possible. Our next question is from Josh, who wants to know, when can we try for another school bond to try and help solve some of these issues?
Yeah, great question. Obviously, with this reconfiguration, the bond conversation is definitely coming back up more and more, and we realize, the needs for community investment for sure, and we're 0 for 3 in the last 5 or 6 years of really trying to proactively communicate to our community like, hey, we have a problem, not only in growth and capacity, but just in infrastructure and ensuring that our kids are able to get the same competitive advantage of other kids in other school districts who are successful in modernizing their buildings. And so we recognize that. We've tried very hard prior to this point to communicate those needs, and unfortunately the community has said no or they're not ready yet, and that's perfectly okay, but that doesn't mean the problems have gone away with that no vote. And so we will be talking about a bond again, because at some point it just has to happen. We just need to find the right price point and what type of infrastructure upgrades can we make that at least 51% of the community will say yes to, and we're about we have 11% still to go in order to meet that threshold. But my plan is to really start talking about what a potential bond package could look like starting next year, but it's too late in the game to be in the fall ballot, and we've really struggled in the May election circuit just because there's not a lot of voter turnout in our community during the springtime, and so we will be leading with a group of community members and people who truly do see the problem for what it is, and are supportive of trying to find a community investment solution, and so I would just stay posted and stay tuned probably for next fall, maybe early next winter, to begin those conversations, because unfortunately I don't love having to kind of gather up a bond force, but at the same time we just need to continue to get back on the horse until we can put a package together that our community seems that they can see a return on investment and is something that they're willing to invest in. So thank you for bringing that up. It's going to come up 10,000 times between now and that reconfiguration, but people are going to see that we really do need some investment. There's no doubt about it.
Question from Jesse. Are teachers mostly able to stick with the grade that they're currently teaching, or are they going to be shifting what they're teaching?
It's going to be a very collaborative process, without a doubt. I mean, there are some teachers that were born to teach kindergarten, and there's some teachers who teach fifth grade naturally well. And for the most part, they're already currently placed in those spots. And both Jen and I really want to try hard to mitigate as much change as possible. So, for our parents who already have a strong relationship with their third or fourth grade teacher, it's to our best interest to keep the continuity going. So while kids may be learning in a brand new building, different from where they were last year, it sure would be nice for them to have a familiar face, a familiar principal, and a familiar relationship with the adults inside that building. So we really will prioritize that, but we also want to make sure that we empower our employees' voice and give some options and opportunities as well. There may be some teachers who teach, at that middle school level that may want to go to the high school, or may want to stay at the 5th and 6th grade level, or maybe there's a 3rd grade teacher, bad example, maybe there's a 1st grade teacher who's been in their classroom for 29 years, and they really just want to stay in that classroom, and they'll teach whatever, just so that they can, stay at their building that they're familiar with and have the culture with. And so, it's an open-ended question just in terms of where we're at now, and that's a decision that we're going to be spending really 6 or 7 months working with our employees on the final determination of their location. But back to my original statement, we are going to try hard to prioritize, one, making sure the talent is placed in the right spot to keep the great work happening, and we want to ensure that our employees do get some options of where they want to go to the best of our ability, as long as their license allows for it and it makes logistical and efficient sense for us as well. Jen, do you want to add to that at all?
I think the only thing I would add is that, we're planning on, once we get some things figured out, we're going to be asking employees what their first, second, third choice is, looking at licensure, looking at all the factors. But at the end of the day, we want to do our best to get people where they want to be, where they're happy, where they can thrive for our students' sake, and where they are just best suited for the overall K-12 alignment the work that we're doing. And we feel confident in being able to gather people's voice and do what we can to make it work for everyone.
Great.
Our next question, with the new federal grant, how much will be used towards this transition?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by federal grant, Marissa. We did just receive a new seismic grant, which came from the state for $2.5 million, and that's to structurally improve the high school commons. We're in the middle of another grant work that we received from the state to structurally improve our high school gymnasium, and it has nothing to do with the high school gym other than it's a cooling shelter, a fire evacuation spot, and a Red Cross shelter, which is how we were successful in that grant. But those are pretty specific to those areas. Maybe Jen, if there's another grant I'm not thinking of.
I'm wondering, in our 60 seconds today, I reported on the integrated programs
There we go.
that we got for $5 million over the course of 3 years, and that money has nothing to do with this transition. That money is very specific to supports in our buildings. It pays for our counselors, it pays for vice principals, it pays for our social worker, and things that we do to support our ELD program, our para-educators. Is very people-focused and program-focused, and it has nothing to do with buildings. We can't even spend it on buildings and things like that. It helps support our CTE programs, and it is very specific and doesn't have anything to do with this transition, nor can we spend it on that, but it also is what helps keep our programs thriving and is what's helping with all of our student success academically that we're seeing, and the social emotional support that we're able to provide for our students.
And what does ELD stand for and CTE stand for?
Our English language learners, we have a big program that supports them through this grant. And then our CTE program is where we talk about our career and technical education. We provide manufacturing, automotive, our We're adding some other pieces to it to give our kids lots of opportunities to look at different trades and support them after high school.
Yeah, thank you.
Another question from Bettina. She lives in Campanella, and her kids will go to River Mill, but when they go to Clackamas River, they'll be over a mile away from Clackamas River.
Yeah.
So will those students in Campanella be bused to Clackamas River?
Yeah, and hi, Bettina. Nice to see you. And thanks for your advocacy always on social media. We greatly appreciate you, both internally and externally. The answer to that is really a maybe. So right now, there's a federal law that says that any child that lives within a 1 mile radius of the school at the elementary level and a 1.5 mile radius at the secondary level are required to walk to school. With this reconfiguration, there's going to be, a kid who used to live within that 1 mile boundary if they lived in Campanella, and now when they go to Clackamas River, it will be greater than a mile. And so one of the things that we need to spend the next 14 months with, and that's some of the transportation and busing logistics, is to find an efficient and simple way to make sure that we're getting all of our students to school. And so it is more likely than not that people who live in the neighborhood on the hill there, either Campanella or even higher in like Timber Ridge or the other side of that development, because of the logistics of where all of our students are, it is probably more likely than not that we will be picking up more students than we are currently because of the way this reconfiguration works. But if you live like in the city, and I'll just call it the flat part of downtown Estacada, or like down kind of by the businesses, it's still likely that those students will be walking, because it's a pretty, I won't say it's an easy walk, but it's a more accessible walk on the flat parts of Estacada than it is up on the hills in correlation to where that is. So I hope that helps that question, but it is something I don't have an answer to today. These are the things our transportation experts as well as a committee will need to work through to really identify who we're going to pick up and who we're still going to encourage to walk.
A question from Josh. He says that bathrooms are always a tricky place to control, but will there be ways to keep 7th graders separate from the bathrooms that 12th graders are using?
Hi, Josh, and yes, they are. Tell me about it. Bathrooms are a tough spot for student management inside any school district in the United States of America, and we are no different when it comes to that. So yes, bathrooms is actually in the forefront of all of our decision-making processes, and as we look at how to reconfigure the high school, where the middle school is going to be on one side of it and the high school is on the other side of it, our intention is to have middle school only specific bathrooms and high school only specific bathrooms. So there's not any type of cross mingling or exposure to, some of the things that we do have to work with our students in the bathrooms on a daily basis. And so we are going to try very hard. Obviously, we know that there also needs to be some private bathroom spaces that just, one individual can go into. And we're going to make sure that both sides, middle school and a high school, have access to those individual stalls as well. So bathrooms are a big one. I don't know if I haven't had a day yet in this reconfigure conversation where bathrooms haven't come up. And so it is one of the top priority things as we make some of the early decisions. So thanks for recognizing that, and we're definitely on that one.
A very thoughtful question from Larissa. She said that her 5th grader loves recess at River Mill and knows that it's important for those kids to be able to burn off energy. Are we going to have a space for 5th and 6th graders to do that?
The answer to that is absolutely yes. I actually think juniors in high school need a jungle gym and a swing set too. Like, everybody needs recess. But I appreciate what you're saying there. Yes is the answer. We will have a space and some objects, age appropriate, recess type objects for kids to play on. And we are going to prioritize that. I can't tell you what or where because I just don't have those answers yet and I'm not there yet. But I also need to point out, because I don't want anyone to get the false hopes that we're going to be able to spend the $250,000 or $300,000 that a great playground will require. Again, we did not pass a bond to do this. We don't have the money to do this, and so we're really just trying to make this happen with the short budget that we already have. And so I can't promise you, an amazing 5th and 6th grade playground that's age appropriate, but we are really going to try to put some fixtures into the ground that we think 5th and 6th grade age level kids can utilize for recess opportunities. But we are for recess. We think those kids need recess, and we're going to work hard over the course of next year to identify maybe 2 or 3 pieces that we might be able to put in there so that all kids can utilize it.
Kim just said, thank you for being transparent, even though this is a tricky situation, working through it together.
Thank you, Kim.
Chris asked, will we be looking into increasing the number of buses that are being used for getting students to school to alleviate challenges with parent pickup congestion?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a tricky question all at the same time. More buses equals more congestion. We do have a 750 square mile school district. We're the largest school district by size in Clackamas County. More so than the congestion, what always worries me about our buses is the amount of time that kids are on the buses. We still have students who live up in Ripplebrook, who live in George, and who live in some of the outskirts of our district that are on the bus for more than an hour, and that's a big priority to me. This might sound insensitive, but I care more about the time kids are on the bus than I do about the congestion in town. But at the same time, we right now run 17 school buses to cover those 750 square miles. There's some mathematical challenges in picking up elementary school kids, dropping them off 750 square miles, and then coming back on time to pick up the high school kids, and then run that 750 mile route again. And so it's a really complex puzzle that we put together in order to make our transportation safe and efficient. And we are having conversations about adding more drivers. We've been buying 2 buses every single year in my 7 years of being the superintendent. It's been a high priority of mine to modernize our fleet and make our fleet bigger so that we do have these capabilities of not only driving 750 miles every single day, but also having the ability to take all of our sports teams to different trips and take field trips and that kind of stuff. So it's a big, complex process, but those are the things that we're looking into. So thank you, Chris.
We had a question about if 6th grade will go back down to elementary or will it be secondary, and how is that decision made?
Yeah, I'm actually going to let Jen talk about that, because we're actually in the process of having some really cool conversations about how we can prepare our 5th and 6th grade kids for the next junior high school and senior high school level while still treating them as if they are elementary school students. So Jen, go ahead.
Yeah, the plan right now is that the current middle school building will house our 5th and 6th grade students. With that, we, as a committee that I helped lead, we talked a lot about what a great opportunity this is to actually support the transition better than right now, where our 5th graders have 1 teacher in a classroom and then they go to our middle school where they go to 7 teachers. And that's a big jump, right? And we try to do some things that help prepare them. We give them lots of opportunities. We have success classes that help support it, and they're doing really well. But this could be an opportunity for us to take a whole set of of a whole school and create kind of a hybrid master schedule that, while they will be considered more elementary at 5th and 6th grade, We can look at more of a hybrid model to prepare them more from going from one classroom teacher to 7. What does 4 classroom teachers look like? How can we support that a little bit better in that transition? So I think it'll be a great opportunity for us to look at our data and be able to make some decisions that are going to help support that transition better from elementary school to secondary. And this is a great opportunity for us to use that building and that span of 5th and 6th grade together to do that.
Awesome, thank you. And it's 8:13 p.m. right now, and I do just want to say I'd like to go another 10 minutes if possible, if you feel like there's 10 minutes of questions and or comments. But I just want to take this time to pause and say that if you're someone who is not watching this live, maybe you're watching this later this evening or the next morning or a week later, we really do encourage you to continue to participate in questioning and sharing your opinions with us. Our communications team watches this every single day, in some cases 24 hours a day, and we really work hard to respond back to our families when they post comments on our page. We would love to post comments on some of the other things that we see, but we really just continue to work through our page, and so I do want to encourage you to continue to participate even if you're not watching this live. I'm so grateful for the great questions that have come about, and I'm excited to hear some more.
We had one great shout out to our transportation department and the great job we do, which we really appreciate. They
Yeah.
do a great job. And then a couple of comments from 2 different people about just concerns around the safety of different routes and the length that students will be walking.
Yeah, and I think those are legitimate concerns, and these are the things that we need to start putting, ideas on a piece of paper and start to look through the challenges and the barriers that exist through that. I'll give you one example of one that we already do, and the families in the community who lives in the Lakeshore neighborhood. That's the neighborhood right on Estacada Lake, kind of next to not Big Jim's, but like the Estacada Tackle, the community center, the Get and Go Market, like that, the other side of the highway. They live technically within the 1 mile boundary of Clackamas River Elementary School, which is the school that they currently attend. And so in theory, those students are supposed to walk across the highway, up the hill, and to Clackamas River Elementary School. As long as I've been here, that's been an absolute no-brainer. I do not want those kids crossing the highway. And so we've just made an executive decision to go and pick those students up with buses, which does affect our ability. Because we do that, some kids have to ride on the bus for longer because we're doing something above and beyond the legal requirements. But I just wanted to give that as a specific example as we draw new bus routes, as we look at new bus pickup boundaries, like we're absolutely going to be making sure that there are safe routes to school, and we're going to be looking at all those issues to make sure that, there's nothing that impedes from a safety perspective what that is. But I also, call me harsh too, but I also want to be clear that we live in an amazing community, a very good community, and kids also just need to walk to school because they live in the boundary. Kids in Portland Public, kids in downtown Chicago, kids in pick another major city. I mean, every school district has boundaries because that 1 mile law is a federal law. And so kids walk to school in every school district in the United States of America. We are no different from that. So while we're going to try to make sure everybody has a safe route to school, I just need to be very clear that there will still be students walking to school, and that might not meet like your personal parent convenience needs, but at the end of the day, we don't have the bus capacity to pick up every single child, and that's why the federal law is there, is so that we can really prioritize the students who live, in some cases, 30 miles away from our school district. And I'm not apologetic to making someone who lives a half mile away have to walk to school. That's actually very common.
Another question from Samantha is, will there be a plan for older elementary students to have younger buddy classes, even though they're in different buildings?
Great question.
Yeah, those are something that are part of the details in some of the work that we're still figuring out. But I know our teachers love having buddy classrooms, and just because they might be in a different building, we're all within walking distance. That's definitely something we can continue to do as teachers work together and support each other moving forward in this plan.
Great.
Another question was, what supports do we have planned and in place for the 7th graders that will be the first group at the high school? This is a big transition for them.
Yeah, I will honestly tell you, I have no idea. We're not quite there at that spot yet in terms of being able to really be that granular in the logistics. But I can tell you that 14 months from now, we're going to have an awesome plan, and that's going to have a ton of parent input invested into it, a ton of teacher educator input invested into it, and a ton of administrative input invested into it as well. One of the things that's really important for both Jen, myself, and the principals is we still want to have a middle school culture, and we want our kids to feel like they go to a middle school and have their own character, has its own identity, and has its own culture. And so as we plan all of these logistics, our intention is to make our middle school 7th and 8th grade kids feel like they're a part of something that is their own and belongs to them and is separate from the culture of Estacada High School. And so I appreciate your thoughts behind that, but at the same time, that's something that's going to be a long work in progress with a ton of voice.
A question from Kristen, who wants to know if the 5th, 6th grade model, will parents be able to give input on how that plays out, and will they be able to be a part of a committee for that?
Yes, absolutely. And yes is the answer to that. The 5th and 6th grade model will be a part of the committee, and parents will absolutely have the opportunity to share their voice, as well as so will employees who are a part of that. It's kind of neat to think that we're starting this 5th and 6th grade school really on a blank canvas, and we get to determine what the opportunities are as well as the experiences are for those students. And so, yeah, we're absolutely going to be collecting voice inside that process, and we're excited, not only that, but to empower the 5th and 6th grade principal, vice principal, and the employees who are going to be assigned to work there to be able to develop those things. Jen, do you want to add to that?
No, I'll say even similar to the last question too, like we already have a lot of supports in place for students who are transitioning to different buildings. And so we've got some of that under our belt. And while that might be a different grade level at different times during this transition, we still will continue to collaborate with teachers, collaborate with specialists, collaborate with our admin to make sure all of these transitions and the models that we're using and the master schedule, all those things work well that are best for our kids and age appropriate for our students. Similar to what we do now, we're just going to have to look at things a little bit differently. But I feel confident in the work that we do, the success we've seen from it as we move forward, even though some of our configurations might be different.
I want to add one more thing too. I'm not super concerned about parent voice. One thing that I've learned in this school district, our parents share their voice all the time. And that's a great thing. It just really speaks to the relationship that we've built. And when parents participate in the way that Estacada parents do, they also, know that their voice matters. And so parents will absolutely, participate. And I'm also telling you that when we open on day one, it's not going to be perfect. And I know our parents will tell us that too. And so I very much look forward to the ongoing work that we do with our parents in order to put together the best operation that we possibly can. So I'm not concerned about parent voice. There's going to be millions of opportunities, and even after we execute, they will also continue to participate.
Great suggestion from Brittany, who wants to know if we can have crossing guards at big gyms to support the crossing on 4th from Campanella. And I just wanted to say that I think that's a great suggestion. We're looking forward to getting suggestions like that in the committee that will open up in October, whether it's employees, parent volunteers. We're having coordinated student groups that walk together. These are some of the ideas that we want to come up with during that committee in October.
Yeah, thank you, Brittany, for that question. You know, first of all, I just want to recognize our crossing guards. They're some of the most visible people in our school district, ensuring that kids get to school safely each and every single day. And they're awesome, and they have great personalities, and they're so friendly. So if you're having a grumpy day or you're late getting to work because you have to drop your kids off, please be patient with those security guards. They're working hard just for kids' safety, and they do just such a tremendous job. So I just wanted to state that. I also, on a more serious note, just want to communicate that we're also working with the city and the city's transportation committee, because as we reconfigure our schools and as we continue to experience just more and more congestion, not only because of the schools, but just because of a growing town, there's a lot of work that's happening at the city level. And I've been fortunate to partner with the city and work very closely with the city to really recognize areas where we can improve transportation safety. And while we do our part with security guards and crossing guards and lighting and that kind of stuff, the city has also been an excellent partner, and we will continue to work together if we need to put up a stop sign or put up another crosswalk or put up the flashing lights or even a stoplight, God forbid. There's an opportunity for us to be able to continue to work with the city. So that is an ongoing work in progress, and we're closely monitoring things that we need to do to improve that. So thanks for asking that question.
It looks like the questions are starting to slow down, but we'll get to them. We had one comment that I wanted to give you the opportunity to address. We have a couple people that are expressing some frustration that you indicated that the law around busing, it was that we did not that we could not pick up students within a mile. We actually can pick up students within a mile. We're just not required to.
Yeah, that's correct. And the reason why I say it that way is because this community is very much paying attention to ensuring that the school district is as fiscally responsible as possible. And so to give a kind of a more transparent answer to that is the federal government reimburses every transportation dollar that we spend 70 cents on the dollar. So if we spend $1 in the diesel fuel tank of the bus, we get 70 cents back in reimbursement. But we have to pay 100% of the cost if we pick up a child inside that 1 mile. And so again, this goes back to, I understand the parent convenience and the desires and wishes for our buses to pick up every parent who wants their child to get picked up. But I will tell you that the majority of this community is very, very much focused on and has expectations for me to get the best bang for their taxpayer buck. And it is malpractice of me to pick up kids in a place where we don't get federal reimbursement for it. And so that's the bigger why behind all of that. And I know people wish that we'd come pick up their kid, and I understand that, but we're going to continue to be fiscally responsible inside of that as well.
Kelly asked, will start times be adjusted to help accommodate families that need to get students to 4 different schools in the morning?
Yeah, that's a legitimate question. That's a work in progress. Our plan, at least at the moment, is to start our K2, 3, 4, and 5, 6 buildings at the same start and release times. They'll be staggered in order to accommodate that parents dropping off in multiple spots, but also to accommodate our buses dropping off kids at multiple spots as well. Our intention is to release the 7th through 12th graders at the same time as well, different than the elementary school time. And so we do, at this point, subject to change, but at this point we plan to still have 2 start times and 2 release times. That'll be the elementary start time and then the high school start time, which will be different because our community has also been very clear through their voices that they don't want high school students riding on the same bus as the elementary school students, and that's voice that we've taken action upon. And so you can at least count on 2 start and stop times, but when the kindergarten and 2nd grade start time and when the 5th and 6th grade start time, there will likely be between 5 and 10 10 minutes between those, really to accommodate the parents who do have the inconvenience of going to multiple school buildings.
Our last question tonight is from Marissa, who wants to know, will the parent committee be a big committee or subcommittees by school and age?
All of the above. So there will be some big committees with big decisions, and then there will be a lot of subcommittees with more granular decisions, all of which will be enacted really starting next fall and throughout next school year. And so if there's a specific topic that you seem interested in, I would continue to look for our monthly communications when we're going to clearly communicate when those committees will start. But we plan to be really loaded with committees next year when it comes to that. And also we'll just be occasionally sending out some surveys and things of that nature too. I have an awesome parent who anytime our school district makes a decision, they're mad at me because I didn't send them a survey on that specific decision. And so, we understand that there's those types of people as well. And again, we really want our community and our parents to play and participate and have a voice in this process. So some things will be in-person committees, some things will be surveys, some things will be in the hands of our employees, and some things will be strictly in the hands of our parents. And we're just going to work through each and every single one of those processes as they come about. But again, this isn't make all decisions all at once. I mean, some decisions are impacted by other decisions. And so what Jen and myself and the school board and other leaders in our school district is we're really trying to prioritize right now which decisions need to get made first so that we can make good decisions on some of the smaller details later. If we were to say the 5th and 6th grade start time starts at 8 o'clock and that was our first decision, I mean, can you imagine the hundreds of hypothetical questions that will come from that decision? And so we really need to do a good job of prioritizing what decisions need to get made first. And I will tell you that within the next couple of weeks, some of the first decisions that are going to get made is we're going to determine what principal is going to be at what building, and we're going to determine what side of the high school has the middle school and what side of the high school has the high school. And really, we see those as kind of our two big decisions, because then everything from the secondary perspective can start to filter out from that process. And it's been very clear that a lot of our employees want to know what principal is going to what building because they, have their own priorities and desires in terms of that as well. And so we're trying to respond to our employees' voice just the same by trying to make that decision as soon as possible, so then they can start to think about what building they want to work in and what grade level they want to work in. So those will be two of the first decisions that we make through this process. If I could just conclude kind of back to the parents in multiple buildings, I think one thing that's an advantage that's easy to forget just because of how awesome and how lucky we are inside of our community is if we were, a school district in Wilsonville, or if we were a school district in Dallas or Grants Pass, trying to pick different corners of the map here, or Redmond, the problem with us reconfiguring in this area is elementary schools are literally 5 miles apart from each other, or they're 40 blocks away from each other. One of the cool things about our campus is all 4 of our buildings are literally 1 block away from each other. And so I completely understand some of the frustrations and just some of the not convenient logistics of having to drop kids off at multiple schools. But I do think it's just important to remind our folks that we are so lucky to have all 4 of our school buildings literally sharing the same street with each other. And so it's not like we're asking someone to pick up their kid at Rivermill and then drive 4.5 miles to pick up another kid at a different elementary school. I'm very thankful that we have the ability to execute this with 4 campus buildings literally being right next door to each other. If you think about Clackamas River, the middle school, the high school, and Rivermill. And so it will be convenient from that perspective. And we're going to continue to work on trying to meet the needs of the parents who have the greatest concerns over that. But we have a better situation than most school districts. Any others? Comments?
I think that's it at this time, and we will go back and circle back on some others
Okay.
that come in later in the evening. But thank you, everyone, for participating.
Awesome. And I just want to conclude by saying I just deeply appreciate this opportunity for the school district to be able to engage with parents on this platform. I just am continually surprised at how respectful, how thoughtful, and how considerate our community is when we come onto this space to really try to tackle some of the most wicked issues and the biggest decisions that our school district is faced with. And so I want you to know that I deeply value this time, and I value this opportunity to be able to speak with you and work with you through some of the toughest topics. One of the things that I think has been so beneficial in our school district since COVID really is our ability to vulnerably and transparently come in front of you in a forum like this and to truly collect your feedback so that we can make the best decisions that represent this community. And the data speaks for itself. Recognized regularly as one of the top workplaces. We have the highest graduation rate in the state of Oregon when it comes to special education. We have the highest graduation rate in our school district's history. There are so many great things happening in our school district, and it's because of things like this where our school district has the vulnerable, humble, and honest approach of coming in front of you on social media, and equally your ability to ask questions and to work with us through some of these hottest topics. And so I'm just thankful to be a part of this school community, and I'm thankful to have this opportunity to engage with the parents of our school district who are deeply invested and are working with us as a team in an effort to make this school district the best school district that it can be for its citizens. So thank you so much. Have a great night, and I can't wait to see you again. Thank you.